We are at Disney's California Adventure for our first ever State of Disneyland report. We're going to check out the crowds, we're going to check out the queues, and talk about what's new. Typically, the first thing we would start talking about is park accessibility. That's one of my favorite topics when it comes to any park. But we covered that in State of Disneyland. Being able to get in the parks these days, that's one conversation, so we won't be getting into that today. Let's get right into what I am seeing and feeling as we walk down Buena Vista Street, and that is, it's busy. I will tell you, it is a Wednesday afternoon, random day, nothing special, but the intensity in the crowds right here on Buena Vista Street is quite impressive. It's kind of what I was expecting. These days, the weekdays, we used to say Mondays are the new Saturdays. The weekdays are the new weekends, and the weekends are just pleasant. Very, very pleasant. When we were here on Saturday for our State of Disneyland report, very pleasant. All day, nice. But as I said, I was kind of expecting it to be very crowded today for that very reason. And so far I've not been disappointed with that prediction. I mean, I wish it was not as busy, but then again, I like Disney parks being busy because it tells me that things are going well, people are happy, people are enjoying the parks. And I'd rather than be here and enjoying the parks than not be here and have an empty park and wondering if, it feels like something's wrong with the world when Disneyland is not a busy place, or in this case, California Adventure. Looking down Hollywood Boulevard here, that's a pretty good crowd for 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, if you ask me. Now, it's interesting because normally when we do State of Disneyland, there's a lot of attractions to look at and it takes a long time to get through it all. This is going to be brisk because there's not near as many attractions here at DCA. A third as many, maybe? I don't know. We're gonna like, I'm not even sure what I should be including. Do I include a conversation about Mickey's PhilharMagic? State of Mickey's PhilharMagic is that it's not a very good show. That's my opinion. So we'll just leave that right there. Let's go to my least favorite place in all of Southern California, Disney parks, the back lot. Man, this is so depressing sometimes when I walk back here. You really need to have a purpose to come back to the back lot. Maybe if it's to ride Monsters Inc. or to get a drink. I don't know. What is Monsters Inc. doing right now? 45 minutes. And what's in your frame right now is the exact reason why that is the case. Lightning lane, standby. And what drives me nuts about that is that Monsters Inc. doesn't need a lightning lane. It doesn't need Genie Plus. It's a quick moving attraction. It's an Omnimover type. It's close to it anyway. It approaches that. They can cycle guests here quickly in and out of those cars very fast. So there's no reason to have a fast pass. But now that they do, they got to process all those lightning lane guests, and that backs up standby. This thing would move like butter. The standby wait would be 20 minutes for Monsters Inc. if there was no lightning lane for everyone. So that's what you're saving, really, is when you use a lightning lane at Monsters Inc., you're saving about 20 minutes. Rogers the Musical, coming on June 30th. We're fast approaching the premiere date for Rogers the Musical. Very grateful that they have found a purpose for this building. So much of DCA, there's a lot of unused space here. Just back there at the back lot, they've never figured out what to do with those studio buildings. I mean, they've got the Marvel Superstore in one of them, but the other one is empty. This building, I mean, that's an enormous building that can hold thousands of guests for a single event, but it's just been dormant for so long. Good to see. I kind of wish that they could have found a way to do this show a little longer, but the possibility is that they've got something else to go behind it. This is temporary, and then once this is done, they'll have another new show a few months later, hopefully, crossing my fingers. a show, maybe about a street rat, who's just trying to find his way through this world. Meanwhile, Mission Breakout, currently at 50 minutes. And it looks to be all of that, or it could be less actually, because there's very few people right now in the lightning lane, although I have seen occasions where the lightning lane for Mission Breakout will stretch all the way back there into the campus. But for now, it's pretty light. I was here the other day doing a bit about the new food and etc. that's here for Guardians of the Galaxy, and I got into that queue when it said 75 minutes, but the lightning lane queue was very similar to that. It wound up being just, I think it was 45 minutes. So you got to use your eyeball test on the lightning lane queue when you try to determine whether or not you want to get in the standby queue or whether or not it's going to be all of that posted wait time. There's the Wasp. Hi, Wasp. Iron Man, holding the court over here. He's amazing. That's an amazing meet and greet. If you're going to choose one, that's a pretty good choice, the Iron Man meet and greet. He's very talky. He's very talky. He's very good. He really engages well with the guest.
Okay, suit up.
Web Slingers says 70 minutes. Oh my gosh. Wow. But you'll notice again that it's not really standby that's doing that. I've seen this full. Many times walking through here, it's full. At least when I guess more when it first opened. It's lightning lane that does that. But again, this is your lightning lane queue right here. That's very short. That's only a handful of folks right there. That's 6-10 people. Lightning lane will sometimes stretch along, the span of the building here. I wonder. What's going on with GD Plus? So, I see pictures sometimes. I saw a picture of lightning lane for Splash Mountain. People were losing their minds because it was, had 2 or 3 switchbacks out there in front of the building, in front of the Splash Mountain. But you could kind of say, that's just, everybody's trying to get in their last ride. Splash Mountain's going to close. It's going to be down for a couple years. It won't be Splash Mountain anymore when it comes back. So I can see the urgency there. But more and more often, when I come to the parks, I'm noticing things like this where Genie Plus or Lightning Lanes, the queues are just not, there's nobody in them. I gotta really start paying closer attention, even more so now, because I'm just, like I said, I'm just getting this feeling like people are over it. It was interesting, it was fun for a while, people, because we didn't have Fast Pass for a minute when the parks first reopened, but I feel like people are burnt out. I really, really do. I gotta figure out, I gotta talk to some folks to see if there's any sort of metrics that I can look at, that I can see that says, yes, usage of Genie Plus is down. Yes, usage of, our individual lightning lane is down. My eyeballs are telling me that as we walk through Avengers Campus. My eyeballs are telling me that. Is it real? Because look at the people are here. They're in the park. And when we hear these conversations, and I'm not sure that this is more a State of Disney than it is State of DCA right now, but people say, how could Disney not be performing well when the parks are as full as they've ever been, or they're darn full. Oh look, Spider-Man's here. Let's see what he's doing right now. People are just screaming at him. All right. Anyway, the people are here, so why aren't the parks doing as well? Well, because they're not buying things like food and merch and Genie Plus and individual Lightning Lane. Disney spent a lot of money on those things, and I don't think it's working out for them. By the way, this looks really intense right now. This is because the Spider-Man stunt show just finished. That's why we saw Spider-Man just now. This will thin out here in a second, but for now I'm actually having a hard time negotiating this. Folks are definitely here today. on a Wednesday afternoon. This is nice. You get to leave Avengers Campus and escape the loud, thumping music, the Avengers theme music, to capture a little bit of, okay, come on, we're out, okay? Let's go, Avengers, wrap it up. I can still hear it a lot. I'm not digging that. There we go. Ah, that's better. We were here for food and wine, and there were cats sleeping on those rocks. 2 cats, one here and another one over there. There wasn't no water, but there were cats out there. That's great. There's Grizzly Wolf. I'm not the only one that thinks that's a wolf, right? It's supposed to be a bear. But it looks like a wolf to me. Cars Land is next. I'm expecting this place to be extra busy as well, and we got a quick look at that, looking down Route 66 here. Full boat. You know, this is the one place where you have value for something like Genie Plus for individual Lightning Lane in this case, because of Radiator Springs Racers. That is the one attraction, more so than any other in the entire park. Radiator Springs Racers is the one where people are like, yes, I have to do that, because it meets the need of every single guest in this park. Every single guest in this park can see value in enjoying Radiator Springs Racers, more so than Rise of the Resistance or the Matterhorn, because the kids can ride and the adults love it too. It's perfect. And it's endured. The queues for Radiator Springs Racers have endured for years now. It's fantastic. Radiator Springs Racers. You know, I had my doubts about Cars Land as a land for a little while, because it's impossible to update this land. They are locked in. They cannot do anything to Cars Land in terms of growth, expansion. This is it. You can't add any new rides, you can't make it bigger, you can't do anything. But it doesn't matter. Cars Land has really held up very well over the years. We're checking in. Oh my, see what I'm talking about? Wow. That's a 120, folks. That's 120 minutes. By the way, I love the analog sign as opposed to a digital. 120-minute standby. And that's mixing with the extensive use of individual Lightning Lane. And single rider is very popular here. I recommend it to everybody that I talk to. Get in single rider. It's a time saver. This 120 is probably 30 or 40 minutes with single rider. Even if it means breaking up your group, it's worth it, in my opinion. But I mean, just think of that's how popular this attraction is. It is non-stop and durable. That closure they had recently, I want to say last summer, was the only closure they've had since the land opened. Was what, 10 years ago? No. My goodness. By the way, I mentioned single rider. We have a rule. If you can see the back of the single rider queue, it's probably not a great idea. By that, I mean from over here, when you're standing over there by the entrance. If you can see the back of the queue, then it's good. That's a pretty healthy single rider queue. Having said that, I'd still get in this one. Consider if you really want to ride Radiator Springs Racers and you're seeing a 120-minute standby, that queue right there is, I mean, it's still going to be a wait, but probably closer to 30 or 45 minutes, which is long for single rider, don't get me wrong. Normally when you get single rider, you're thinking 5 or 10 minutes, but it's still a tremendous time saver. That's an hour and a half. It's an hour and a half. If you go for 30 minutes in that queue, it's an hour and a half you save. Interesting though, having this whole conversation, I just checked the tip board. I wanted to see what individual Lightning Lane was doing for Radiator Springs Racers. I was expecting, what is it? It's a little bit before 3. I was expecting 6, 7, 8 o'clock. The return time is for 3. So I don't know, man, unless they have increased the number of Lightning Lane passes that they're making available, which would explain why you're still, even with a short wait, even with the now for Radiator Springs Racers, you're still seeing 120 minutes on standby. That's my only conclusion, I guess, is that Disney is leaning into this particular attraction and just servicing Lightning Lanes all day. Because, you know, there's supposed to be a limit. There's supposed to be a sellout point for individual Lightning Lane, but I wonder if maybe they still get there at some point tonight, but maybe they have expanded the number, you know, the inventory that they're making available. By the way, it looks like it has just broke down. This conversation has been fascinating. I haven't seen or heard a car here in a minute. There you go. Probably heard that. The speaker, the ride ops speaker, it is paused for the moment. Sounds like they might be able to get that thing going again here soon. But so far, those are like, we're kind of on 3 takeaways at this point right now. Parks are, the park, DCA, very busy on this Wednesday afternoon. 2, people aren't buying Lightning Lane or Genie Plus as much as they may have in the past. I feel like levels are kind of shrinking on that, something that's going to bear more scrutiny. And D, they still are buying individual Lightning Lanes for Radiator Springs Racers. Radiator Springs Racers is the bestest, most popularist attraction at the Disneyland Resort, including Rise of the Resistance. Gonna check in on Luigi's Rollicking Roadsters. They do rollick, 40-minute standby at present. Every time I hear this song at Luigi's, I think of The Godfather. This is the song the band plays at the wedding in the beginning of the film. See how accurate that 40 minutes is. Oh dear. It may actually be worse than that. I have a rule. I don't get in this queue ever if you can see it in this part of the room. Possibly even the second room. Like the best value is when it's just at the door to the exterior part of the queue. This out here, that's a no for me, dog. There we go. That was just a few minutes. Pause for a few minutes, back up and running. Go get them, Radiator Springs Racers. Looks like our tour is taking us into the Pacific Wharf, soon to be San Francisco. I won't go into too much detail about what's going on here because we cover that at length in our construction updates, but I do think this is a good time to pull over. It is our tradition to get a drink over at Ronto Roasters about halfway through our day. I think I'm gonna get the ube tea from the Lucky Fortune Cookery. I think I've asked this before, why they felt the need to update the Pacific Wharf to San Francisco, because it's not like it was hurting for business. This place is crazy busy all day, every day. Every time I walk through, there are 500 places to sit and you can never find one when you walk through here, unless it's like completely off hours. But if you're here during the middle of the day like I am right now, it is next to impossible to find a place to sit. And look at this queue for Cocina Cucamonga, you guys. Never in my life have I seen this is standby. You know, there's mobile order, wait, is that, oh my gosh, that is mobile order. No, it's not, that is standby. Incredible. Guys, get mobile order. I have a formula for standby for food. I've watched a lot of queues, done a lot of clocking, timing. On average, about 1 minute to 1 minute 15 seconds per guest to place their order. So if you want a rough idea of how long you think your standby wait might be, count the guests, and it's about 1 minute per. In this case, my eyeball tells me that's about 45 people at least. Ube milk tea. Not even gonna try to find a place to sit down and enjoy this. We're gonna leave this scene, head somewhere else to find a nice quiet place to enjoy this new, I've never had this before, to enjoy this and then take a look at the tip board. I don't even know what ube milk is, to be honest. I know what tiramisu foam is. That's what's on the top. It's tiramisu foam. Oh my God. It's the foam. That is delicious. The tea coming through the foam, fantastic. What a combination, my goodness. Wow. That's great. That's really, really good. All right, let's check out that tip board while I finish this. Disney California Adventure tip board. What is that? What am I looking at? I don't even know what I'm looking at. The Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, I guess that must be the stunt show. Disney Junior Dance Party next show. Doctor Strange next show. These are all shows. Bob and Dime. Can I get it right? Golden Zephyr. 20 minutes. Of course it is. Goofy Sky School. Standby. Nearly an hour return time for an hour and 7 minutes. I don't know how standard that is, but I feel like that is. Oops, sorry. I feel like that's above normal. Grizzly River Run. It's not a cold day. It's a warm day. 35-minute standby return time of 2 hours. That's busy. They got the lightning lane for that one, the Genie Plus for that. Here's Guardians. We walked by that earlier. 55-minute standby. That's what we saw before, with a return time of 3 hours and 30 minutes. That's actually not bad for Guardians this time of the day, it being 3:15. That's actually not bad. Incredicoaster. Now that's crazy. We're gonna have to walk by that. Standby 65 minutes. The Incredicoaster is always one of the best values at DCA. It's a quick standby queue. It's hardly ever at a wait time in excess of that. Like of 65 minutes. That's high. That's high for Incredicoaster, even on a busy day. Inside Out, 45 minutes. That's a hard pass for me. No way would you catch me waiting 45 minutes for Inside Out. I would wait 5 minutes for Jesse's Critter Carousel, though. Jumping Jellyfish, 20 minutes. The reason why, let's go back. The reason why it's a hard pass for me on 45 at Emotional Whirlwind is because it's such a slow loader that you have to stand there. I don't mind waiting for 45 minutes as long as I can keep moving. But it's all the standing there and waiting for them to take the guests out and then put them in and then do the ride, then take them out and put them in. It can be excruciating. Arrow's Undersea Adventure, 25 minutes. Luigi's, 30. When we walked by, it said 40, and it would look even worse than that. It looked like more like 45 to an hour to me when we walked by. Mater's. Why did we go on Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, you guys? You know what? Hang on.
Well, radiator springs is a rocking little place to stay. Radiator springs is a rocking little place to stay.
Oh! Woo! There we go, out! Oh! How's the booty slide? It's better when you don't know what's coming. Oh God! Oh God! Let's hit the spot. Oh. Well, we rocked it at the Coast of Cones anyway. Let's get back to work. That was fun. Okay, Monsters, 35 minutes. 4:45 is return time. Oh man, they just really ruined that ride. They really did. They ruined it. Radiator Springs is down to 105, but the return time is still 3:25. It's still just 10 minutes away from now. Now, I know that's individual lightning lane and not Genie Plus proper, but still, that's surprising. Silly Symphony Swings is, hey, it's back! Silly Symphony swings are back. All right, 30 minutes. Soarin' 35, that's light. Return time in 2 hours, that's light also. Toy Story 45, that's light. Return time 3:45, very, very light. What's going on at Toy Story? Why are they not? Man, Genie Plus. That should be a couple hours for the return time, and that should be a standby of 60. And then finally, Web Slinger 75, return time of 3.5 hours from now. Wow. There you go.
What's going on, Grandma?
Good old Green Army, man. Anyway, back on the streets, checking out attractions. Ariel's Undersea Adventure on our right. Going down for refurb on June 5th. Back again on June 15th. The easiest ride to catch in the entire park. No matter what, it is like butter that queue moves. You know, the leader of that band is a former member of, gosh, what was the name of that improv group that played at the, not improv, but the group that played at the Golden Horseshoe. Not the Billy Hill, but the group after that. Now I can't remember. But he was a member of that troupe. Willem was too. I saw Willem the other day at the Beauty and the Beast show. No, actually he was Tangled. He was doing Tangled, but he's one of the, he's either Mr. Smythe or Mr. Jones. But he goes way back. Years those guys go back. Golden Zephyr is closed as usual. It's 50-50. That ride was up when we were filming the tip board, and then it went down since it closed. For whatever reason, it's not even windy out. I can't even guess why it's closed right now. Look at this crowd though. Look at this. That's pretty good, right? Got a 15 deep queue at the Corn Dog Castle. We did a study, very scientific study of where the best corn dogs are in either park between, you know, Disneyland and here. And my conclusion was that they're all the same. The variable is how close, how proximate serving the corn dogs are to the actual cooking of the corn dogs. That's the closest. The grill, the little fryer, is right behind the cast that serve them to you. It comes out of the fryer and to you. There's a little distance at Stagecoach, and I mean, it's in a completely different building over at the corn dog cart. You would think that would be the best one, right? But nope, that's third. There it is. Silly Symphony is back, just like we left it. And an enormous queue. A long queue is when it gets to the bottom of the stairs, but they've got it down here, approaching the road, you know, the rotunda thing. That's incredible. That is a very long wait for Silly Symphony. I wonder if people have been that anticipatory of that attraction reopening. We saw a very prohibitive wait on the tip board also for Emotional Whirlwind. This attraction grows on me from time to time because it's just kind of silly and fun, and I like the sound, I like the characters, but it's in such a weird spot in the middle of Incredicoaster. And of course it's a spinner. Wakeboard says 30 minutes, but that queue, man, that's enough for me right here. That up there, that's enough. But then to come down here as well, you gotta wait, you know, 3 or 4 minutes every time they do a switch, every time they do a rotation. You gotta just stand there for 3 or 4 minutes. Ay, ay, ay. Meanwhile, the entirety of Pixar Pier has kind of grown on me over the years. At first I wasn't about it. Not when it was Paradise Pier and not when they did the reskin, because it's the opposite of what Walt was trying to build. He looked at, you know, boardwalk amusement parks and said, I don't want any of that. It's too dirty. It's, you know, it doesn't feel like it's family friendly. I want to build something else. And so the first chance that Disney had to build a park, more park next to Disneyland, they built the thing that he was trying not to. But, you know, I've come to realize I didn't want more Disneyland. In that sense, I didn't want a Disneyland 2. I'd rather Disneyland just be Disneyland and let it grow and expand on its own within its own gate. And then have something else, something different at DCA if you want to change the beat. I like coming here when I want to change the rhythm of my day. That rhythm being loud, alcohol, or something to that effect. It's not really for the rides because most of these rides are spinners. It's like half these rides are spinners. We walked right by it when I was doing my little monologue there, but I wanted to come back and report on the Pixar Pal Around. This is the longest standby queue I've ever seen for the swinging side. Coming out here into the walkway. That's incredible. That's a long wait. It says, well, actually it doesn't say anything. I think they just bumped it to 60. Standby for the non-swinging says 45, and this is pretty typical. I mean, that's a long line right here. I don't like it when it gets around this little end right here. It's fine, just, you know, the front part. When it gets back there, I'm like, no way. But this I have never have I ever, I don't think, seen the queue escape the proper queue itself and out into the walkway. That's incredible. So that's an hour, and that's an hour with, what, I want to say like 5 or 6 more gondolas. There's 5 or 6 more swinging gondolas than there are non-swinging. I did the math once, it's a lot. So maybe that's oh, you know what it is? It's grad night. There have been a surplus of teenagers in the park that I've noticed. Maybe that's why it's busier today. Or as busy. I mean, I was expecting to be busy, but maybe that's why it is extra busy. But yeah, a lot of those were kids. It's the kids that like the swinging. So those are grad night kids in that queue right now. But I was surprised at how light the Midway Mania queue was. That doesn't look like 30 minutes to me. The tip board said 30. That looks closer to 45. Let's get around these umbrellas. Oh, okay. Now that says 100 minutes. What happened? Why was that such a lie? Maybe it was a breakdown? 100 minutes. And that's with not an overly long, at present, Lightning Lane queue. This is it right here. That's pretty light for Lightning Lane, which means there are a bunch of people in that standby queue right now, and that's excruciating. That wait can be excruciating because you see all this out here, and you're like, oh gosh, that's, you know, whatever, and then you go, oh my god, there's even more inside that building right there. Wow, 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 wow. I mean, that's busy. That's why Incredicoaster was 65 minutes. I was wondering why Incredicoaster was also showing such an exceptionally high, abnormally high standby wait time. Because of grad night tonight. It says, oh my gosh, wow. Look at how full it is down there, even down below. So many people. All these folks right here are trying to get into standby. It doesn't come out this far, but they can't get in there. There's too many people. I can barely pass through there. No, it is sticking out. Oh my god, that is the queue. I thought they were just trying to wiggle their way in there, but there's a proper queue. All the way out here. Man, I never really subscribed to the idea, the theory that grad nights had a big effect on crowds, but I may have to reconsider that. Look at that queue in there. It's not everywhere. And maybe that's why some attractions have an abnormally low standby wait time, while others have an abnormally high, because they're concentrating those grad night guests are concentrating into just a few attractions because they're skipping other attractions that grad night guests wouldn't do? Question mark? I don't know. I'm just trying to make stuff up. Look at this single, look at that. Single rider is going, it's gonna meet. If I were to get into the single rider queue or the queue for adorable snowman frosted treats, I could shake hands with the other person to get them back into the queue. I can fit right in there, and depending on which one I get in, I can shake hands with the other person. I had designs, I had thoughts of maybe stopping here to get a treat today instead of the boba.
4, 3, 2, 1.
But this is near the end of the day, and I need something more in the middle. Looks like the Cove Bar is still not serving out here. It's been a while since they've served out here. They serve over there at the, I said Cove Bar, but you know what I mean. They're still serving up there, but they're not serving here. That is 100% an inability to keep cast on the job. 100% of failure to employ enough cast because Gold Bar makes a ton of dough. A ton. Drinks here are high profit, and they want to sell as many as drinks as possible. It's not because they can't fill those seats. They can fill all those, I'm sure. Oh, scaffolding has gone up. I did not note this or didn't see this in my last construction report. A little bonus for you, they put scaffolding up on the cafe, Pacific Wharf Cafe Bakery there. That's where the Lucky Cat is going to wind up being. There you go, Grizzly River Run, 60 minutes. In the foreground right here is the Lightning Lane queue, which is about par for a warm day. But the standby, I don't know where they feel like that's 60 minutes because it's out here. Let's go take a quick tour of the standby queue and just see how lengthy that is. But having the backside of it here, that's a hot day queue, not a warm day or even a mildly warm day queue. And it's all full in there. When they get out here into where they have to make roped off sections of the queue, that's not a good sign. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. My goodness, there's people everywhere. That's so long, you guys. My gosh. That is the longest standby queue I think I've ever seen for Grizzly River Run. And it's about 72 degrees out. I've never been in this queue. I have never been in the part of the queue, right there where you're in that little office or whatever. I've never been in there. I've seen parts of this part of the queue sometimes, and I know I've never been in that queue right here. Never. That's wild. That is wild. People love DCA. They really do, man. This park is doing great. It's having a great day today, DCA is. And we've got just one more stop. The rest of Grizzly Peak in Soarin'. Soarin', just the backside, doesn't look too bad over here. Often you'll see the queue go all the way back here. It's a slow loader, and it all depends really on how many screens they have working. That little bit of line right there, that's just against that building, is 65 minutes. That little bit. Can you imagine how much standing those folks are doing? Just that little bit right there is 65 minutes. Lightning Lane once again. So this is one of those attractions where people are cashing in, you know, using Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes. That's one of them right there. I don't remember what the tip board said, but I would bet that the return time on that one is probably an hour or two out. Wow. Okay, that winds us up, doesn't it? We've come all the way back to Carthay Circle. The guests have not gone home. It is still quite busy. And a very fun day, I have to say. As far as, you know, State of Disneyland or State of DCA reports go, that was fun. I enjoyed that one. I felt like I've learned something today about DCA, or I put some stuff in the memory banks. I've got reference knowledge now, because I'm not here as often as I'd like to be. Disneyland occupies so much of my time. Same goes for places like Knott's and Universal too. You know, Disneyland occupies so much of my headspace. But good day here at DCA, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know if this is something. Well, I guess we'll know by how many folks watch this video and engage with it. I'd like to do this again. I'm going to close it out by saying thank you very much. I love you guys. Be safe. Be kind. I knew she was going to wave. I can tell. I can feel her turning around when she went past my blind spot. And respect.